The person who wrote this article, I can tell that they either have no inspirations to play competitively, or like they just don't know how to use their brain. IGN. Y'all just never stop getting on my nerves, huh? IGN dropped a review on Pokemon Champions, and I haven't read it in full, but I haven't seen or heard some positive things based off the tweets they put out. But I guess in this video, we gon' read what they had to say, and then we'll talk about it. So I guess let's get into it. But oh wait, before we get into it, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. The love, I appreciate every subscriber, every view, everything I get. But y'all going ham, and I appreciate that. The next couple videos that I'm gonna be doing, I promise you this is gonna be my last like ranty type video or whatever. So I'll be doing some content. I'm actually probably gonna go live after I record this video, and we'll do some singles ladder climb. I have not touched singles at all, because I need the VP so I can get my team right for this global challenge doubles tournament that's coming up. So I gotta get right. Gotta get my mind right. I ain't played the game in a while, and I've been itching to play. So, but first, business first, we gotta do this. As far as Pokemon Champions, here's the review on IGN. I guess shout out to them, go to the link, whatever. But this is their review. They've been known to do some interesting reviews, to say the least. So I know they got to get their content. I know they got to write what they need to write, but you know, whatever. Shout out to them. All right. So it says, the idea of the battle-centric Pokemon game lets trainers duke it out with all their breeding and badge collecting has been around. Oh, sorry, my bad. Without the breeding and badge collecting that's been around since the early days with Pokemon Stadium. So it's exciting. Pokemon Champions looks to continue that legacy 26 years later. Okay, with their intro sentence, true. I think people have been wanting a Pokemon Stadium or some type of battle simulator game from Pokemon for quite some time, and it's dope that we got one. So I will say that we definitely needed this. This air quotes read a start turn-based battler puts its full focus on online PvP using the serious combat system. That being said, while it may look and play like Pokemon, Champion's lack of substance keeps it from being the very best way to battle with your Pokemon. Okay. I'm gonna keep calm. I want to know where they go. Let me before I crash out. Let's see what they gotta say. If you've ever played any mainline Pokemon games, Champions feels like it's slipping back into a slimmer pair of your favorite running shoes. You and your single opponent build teams of 6 to pick from you 3v3 battles or 4v4 doubles. Pick your moves simultaneously and slug it out until one team is entirely knocked out, which is the base of Pokemon, duh. It's turn-based nostalgia fuel, and Pokemon's mix of reading your opponent, clever strategy, and bit of luck are a big part of why I kept coming back to each new entry for nearly 30 years. Okay, this is a Pokemon fan, or maybe was at one point. All right. Despite occasional bugs, which to the developer Pokemon Works credit, it has been tackling since release. That is true. There was a bug, there was a Leech Seed bug, there was some Pokemon home transfer bugs that I didn't experience, but I know there were some bugs that they pretty much they're pretty quick about getting those out the way. Pokemon Champions battles make for a solid foundation, which is good when that's all there really is to it. I often found myself swearing I would only do one more battle before calling it quits, inevitably staying for at least a few more bouts. I really enjoy the combat system, even without all the catching and leveling that usually accompanies it. So the fact that this is all there is wouldn't be an issue if the content available wasn't so, dare I say, gloomy. The truth of the matter is about Pokemon Champions, I don't care what y'all wanted. They told y'all what it was. It was a battle simulator. That's it. It wasn't gonna have all these different little mini games like Pokemon Stadium. It wasn't gonna have a story mode or in like a offline battle mechanic mode. None of that stuff. It's literally a Pokemon battle simulator. Guess what? Use your brain. This is the platform that they're going to start doing tournaments on, the major regional tournaments. Why? Because it's easier. It's a smaller game. It's a lot less things to keep up with, a lot less resources. And guess what? The other thing that y'all don't want to admit is that the graphics look damn good on this. The graphics look damn good on Pokemon Champions. Like, I was even like, yo, this look good. But anyway, let's continue. For it being a dedicated battling game, it's shocking to me how few options there are to do it. How many do you need? There's 2 formats. Y'all want to play them? You want to play them gimmicky ass formats? The 1v1v1 v1v1, the 4 battle shit, or the rotating stair shit. Like, nobody played those. That's why they're not in the game. Nobody played them. The option to fight with 1 Pokemon at a time or 2 is pretty much the only choice you are given. Duh, that's the only 2 game way people play Pokemon. Champions doesn't even provide an option to bring your full roster of 6 into the fray. That's a fair critique. And why no single player challenges or single player offerings? Period. Bring back the Gym Leader Castle Gauntlet, or let trainers face off against superpowered legendaries. Anything that can be played offline, or ways to test your ideas. As is, it's online PvP or nothing at all. Okay. Again, duh. So whoever wrote this article, you just writing a bunch of big duh. 1, they already told us this stuff. 2, the game is free. The game is free. Okay? So when you want people to start adding offline content and offline game modes and all these other little things, that's when you starting to get into that, like, all right, we got to start paying for stuff, right? So I already know the obvious one to compare this to would be Marvel Rivals, right? Marvel Rivals, free game, has a like a PvE, but it does not have, it's a limited game mode. It's not always in the game, 1, and 2, Marvel Rivals is making mad money back off of the skins and everything else that they're getting off the game, right? Granted, Pokemon could make a lot of money, but they are realistically, they don't have skins, they're not charging for it. There's not a pay to win game. It's barely a pay to cosmetic game. It's barely that. Majority of the things that you get in this game are from battling. Okay? So, Mr. or Mrs. or whoever who wrote this article, I get what you're saying. It's the 6v6 is a good point. I have seen that gripe, is that in ones, like, let people battle 6v6. That's fair. But I also understand that they are trying to make sure that when people get into these games, you're playing as much as possible, which means you're going to get fast games. So the 3v3 mechanic makes sense. I understand the 6v6, but guess what? 6v6, consider you can stall. And if somebody's stalling, it takes mad long. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. 3v3 is fine. It's whatever. It is what it is. Maybe I'll feel differently when I play, but for right now, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. So, but fair complaint. Fair complaint. The roster for the competitive community has taken a particularly hard critical hit. Okay. This disappointing lack of content unfortunately extends to the pocket monsters themselves. Champions features a paltry pool of 186 to battle with. The ones that have been included remind me of the popular Cool Kids Club from grade school days. You have the captain of the football team, Charizard, and the head cheerleader, Sylveon, hanging out at the lunch table, but the nerdy Porygon or the weird Lickitung that I'm about to fry this fucking article, that only eats glue are nowhere to be found. In fact, basically all the early evolutions are absent. Baffling omissions like Rillaboom, Mewtwo, Mew, or most of the other legendaries leave glaring holes in the roster. We can expect some gaps to be filled over time with service updates, but how fast and what extent is still a mystery. Probably not so much. Use your brain. And what's available right now leaves me feeling like Psyduck, confused and with a headache. Okay. Now, I will say this. When Pokemon Champions first came out and I was like, oh damn, it's only 186. Did it suck at first? Was it trash? Sure, kind of, a little bit, maybe just a little bit, right? But when I actually sat down and played the game, it was actually a lot better than I thought. You think about it, right? If we just had all the Pokemon available to us, the same ones that are in Scarlet and Violet, you want to know what happens? Everybody just goes back and plays the top tiers, and the teams that everybody's been playing, they would just continue to play. But now with this roster of 186, which has been a little bit different, you're starting to see some mons get some usage, some play, which I think was the point. You bring some people's favorites, you bring some not favorites. Like, before this, I don't think anybody would play Vanillux. You wanna know why people are playing Vanillux? Guess what? Because it has a good ability in a roster with a limited pool of mons and a 186 pool versus 1,000 plus. You get to use mons that are now important or have a new importance or a new favorite or a new whatever because of this, right? Straight up. I can't even say it any clearer than that. And let's think about it, right? If y'all go watch my last video where I got to Masters with Politoed, that would have never happened if you had all the other mons in the format. There are so many other mons that I could have used outside of Politoed. It would have probably, not that it would have never happened, but it would have been much harder. But at least now with this roster of 186, you can see two people who have the exact same team and have their team built completely different ways. They can have the same 6 mons, two different rosters, 2 different ways they built the team. I've seen all different types of tech. You got people who are doing like double megas on a team. You got people who are just like, I'm hard committing to a trick room. I'm hard committing to rain teams. I'm actually using Aerodactyl. People are using Aerodactyl, not mega. They're just using tanky-ish Aerodactyl. They're using a support tailwind Aerodactyl. You got your damage Aerodactyl. You got mega Aerodactyl. You see how this works? How you have to, the ability or the amount to have that 186, right? It has created this thing where people are now getting more creative with their teams, and there's also new blood into the game. So there's a bunch of people, me included, who were not playing Pokemon super competitively and are now playing, and now their minds are untapped and they're doing things and being more creative than they've ever been before, besides seeing the same top tiers. Nobody wants to see the same mons. That's why also when you said, oh, we don't know, we're gonna get more Pokemon, the season's up. In any game when the season's up, what do they do in any game when the season's up? They add more things. So do you not think that they're not gonna add a new staple of Pokemon to the roster? They might even take these ones away and make us see. No, they probably won't do that, but they'll definitely probably add some more Pokemon. So what if they next season they add another 186 or another 50? You'll be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine. And IGN, you'll probably won't be playing the game in a couple weeks anyway. That's the truth. Now, moving on to your point about there's some of our not favorites like Porygon or Licky Tongue. Hey, dum. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. They said already that there are not going to be any non-fully evolved Pokemon in the game. You want to know why? Because the item Eviolite is broken. They didn't want that in the game. They're trying to put things in slowly so that they can adjust and make the proper balance adjustments to the game. So putting Eviolite in the game now again forces people to play with some of the same old stuff they already been using. If you put those into the game, you put Eviolite into the game, and there's already Electabuzz, and there's already Magmar, and there's already Porygon 2, and like these are mons that they're already going to use. And also they already said they're only putting fully evolved mons into the game. So Lickitungue's not in the game. Or maybe you don't know that. Maybe you don't know that Lickitungue is not fully evolved. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. You said you've been playing for a while, but it is a thing with like this shit, right? If you did proper journalism, you would have done enough to know that everything that you said, they already preset the table for this. You already knew that there were not going to be fully evolved Pokemon in the game. We already knew there was not going to be all 1,000 mons into the game. We already knew that they were going to be having a season pass. We already knew these things. We already knew it was just an online battle simulator. We already knew that. In addition to missing plenty of fan favorites, the competitive community has taken a particularly hard critical hit due to the lack of both Pokemon and held item options. For example, out of the 22 mons that made up the various 2025 teams, there are only 3 that are currently usable in Champions. I just said that. Just literally said that. Because we don't want all the top tiers. Maybe some, but not all. The unique goodies that you can have your team hold are nearly as uninspired, with the vast majority either being healing berries or items that can improve certain moves, not including megas, which outliers such as Scopelands, Light Ball, Mental Herb, Shell Bell being such saving graces. Heavy hitters like the Power Herb, Choice Specs, Air Balloon, and many other, also all the broken items. Cool. Put all the broken stuff into the game right off day one. So then now we just go back to playing the same old boring shit instead of just incorporating things and having new techniques. See how this works? And many others used by most hardcore players are all absent, which could make Pokemon Champions a tough berry to swallow at the moment. With this year's Pokemon World Champions rolling around at the end of August, it's hard to believe to say that this will be a good enough place by then to serve as a de facto battling platform it's meant to be. The person who wrote this article, I can tell that they either have no inspirations to play competitively, or like they just don't know how to use their brain. That's the point. That's literally the point, is that Pokemon wanted us to get creative with these teams. There are so many people doing so many different creative things with these teams. Even me, I'm doing creative ways to complete my own objectives outside of what's air quotes meta, right? And I just don't get it. We've been watching the same format, which is, I can tell you're not tapped in with Pokemon like that. We've been watching the same mons in the same format for 3 years. Scarlet and Violet has been out for at least 3 years now, and it's going to be longer until Wind and Waves come out. So why would we want to keep watching the exact same teams, the exact same mons that ain't been changed, ain't been balanced? We want to watch that again in Pokemon Champions, right? That's what you want to do. You want to watch the same shit over and over and over again. And if Pokemon did that, then you'd be like, oh, well, why didn't Pokemon make any adjustments to the team? That's why. So now we can see some new shit, okay? Now, here's this, right? Here's this, right? This survey. Here's the survey, which also tells me, are you playing Pokemon Champions? Yes, I love battles. Not right now. Maybe if they updated more. And the majority of comment, no, I just want more than fights for Pokemon. Guess what I say to this? This means that Pokemon Champions just is not for you. So now we got an article, somebody writing biasly, by the way, about a game that's just simply not for them. If it's not for you, just say it's not for you. That's fine, whatever. But these lame ass claims about like the game falling short, or like it just competitive players. Newsflash, if you go look it up right now, there was just a tournament last weekend where there have been more entries than ever. And guess what? Newsflash, IGN, it's gonna go up. It's gonna go up. I guarantee it. Especially in June when it comes out on mobile for everybody to play. When those same people who don't have Switch 2s or Switch 1s can just download the game on their phone or on their iPad, guess what happens? More people are gonna play. And people are gonna get even better. Oh, but you know, oh, it falls short, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, let's continue. To get your favorite Pokemon on your team, assuming they made the cut, you have two main options: bring them over from Pokemon Home or recruit them from the Champions Farm. The home route I found to be a straightforward and relatively painless process. Well, just do that. Both when I was importing them into Champions as well as when I sent them back. The recruit method is fairly simple, but as you can only get Pokemon that happen to be a rotating pool of seemingly random options, finding one that you're hoping for is a bit of a gotcha situation. You get one free pull each day, which is fair. I did make a video saying I wish it was a little more for free pulls. As well, the ability to spend resource called victory points and rent them for free. The countdown to pull them again can shorten using special tickets. If this all makes Pokemon Champions sound like a mobile game, it's because it is, or later it will be. This is only available on Switch 1 and Switch 2. Now, breaking this down, I did a video, my first video about Pokemon Champions, and I kind of spoke about how I felt about the reroll system and stuff. I definitely think that we need to get more recruitment tools, so we definitely need another chance to get recruited mons. I also believe that we should be able to do a reroll. Now, what I didn't know is that if you play the game, once you start unlocking achievements, you get this thing called affinity tickets, and I promise y'all, sometimes y'all wouldn't even notice that it's there. So when you go to right before you unlock a mon, probably not right now because it's on special roster mode or whatever, but when it's on the normal, when you get the normal rolls to catch any mon that you want, there's a at the top, you can press a button and you can use an affinity ticket. The affinity ticket allows that the first couple mons that you see on the ranch will be the mons that in the same type of a mon that you want. So say for example, I want Rotom Wash. I can use a water affinity ticket, and that will increase my chances to get Rotom Wash in my staple of mons that I get to pick from. So that does help. I'm not gonna lie, that does help. I just wish it was better. I wish we got another chance to re-roll or something like that. I'm with that. But I feel like the gacha game, the gacha elements about it, I feel like that was kind of low hanging fruit. Oh, it is a mobile game. Well, duh, they're gonna come out with the game for mobile as well, but it's not a mobile game. Y'all played mobile games before. This is not that type of game. Even still, the scent of a typical mobile game is already all over this. From how the menus and UI are laid out to the various currencies that you can earn that speed up tickets and expand your storage, the DNA of its mobile-focused business model comes through loud and clear. Thankfully, at least right now, I haven't found myself hindered by sticking to the free version of Champions. Okay, so what you complaining for? Typical of a gacha game, beginner gifts are plentiful in the early hours, even without the $7 starter pack that's being offered. Since the basic, casual, ranked, and private battles are all free, I haven't yet felt the need to put money in to continue playing. And at least for the time being, the primary VP currency can only be earned by completing daily, weekly, and special missions, or by competing in ranked battles. So things don't quite feel as predatory as other mobile games can. Well, that's because the objective was the same, and they told you since day one. We want you to play the game. We want you to play. Bring some of your favorite team from Pokemon home, which is why they allowed you to do that. If it was truly pay to win, they wouldn't have let you do that. They would just you got to catch all the mons in this game. But people would have been upset about that, right? So here's what we gonna do. All right, boom. Pokemon Champions, free game. Transfer your squad over, and then if it's compatible, whatever, boom. Now you got a team to work with. Play the game, get some stuff. That's very basic, very simple. For a game all about battles, I wish more effort had been spent into making them look cool. I don't know what the fuck you meant by that. From a visual standpoint, for a game it's all about battling, Pokemon Champions falls harder on its face than Brock did whenever he tried to flirt with the latest pretty face on the TV show. How? Instead of being the stars of the show, the Pokemon lack texture and detail? You must be playing this on the Switch 1. Can't be playing this on the Switch 2. Because I would even say how this game looks compared to ZA is night and day. This looks way better than ZA. So, and I didn't like the ZA art style at first. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm gonna be honest. Moves themselves feel a bit better overall, but can swing wildly in quality. For example, Hyper Beam vaporizes the opponent like a scene out of Dragon Ball Z, but Body Slam still simply uses the user come up and back down, flattening their opponent while remaining on an idle animation. Okay, that's just what Pokemon does. So you're trying to compare a Pokemon game to what? Elder Scrolls, Dark Souls, Final Fantasy. I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be closer to that quality of game, but like for them to like act like that's just not like what Pokemon's done, that's just not what they've done. So I don't get that argument at all. And it's not even me caping for Pokemon. This is just me picking apart a poorly written article. And it is so much to ask. Is it so much to ask that attacks originate from somewhere that makes sense? It's 2026. It'd be great if Bullet Seed didn't just spawn a few free in front of my Pokemon. Whatever. The Pokemon series isn't exactly known for its looks. So as much as I would love it for Champions to look like last year's Digimon Story Time Stranger, I would say this is on par. I didn't expect it to, but for all the game that's all about fighting, I hoped a bit more effort would be put into making it look cool at least. I tried to compare the models to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to see if there were any changes, and I'd be hard pressed to point out any major tweaks. Well, that's just because you're a casual. Simply seeing your Pokemon in 3D no longer holds the same majesty or gravitas they did when the mainline were on 2D sprites. The Champions fails to push the bar any higher to bring back some of that excitement. That's fair. I do think that the 2D games had more charm, with the Mons had 2D charm, but like everybody knows that. But now we're in 3D. That's the truth. Like, I think that Pokemon is starting to make the steps in the right direction, where they have to either full on commit to the 3D to make them look super real, or y'all got to go back to 2D and just let it be 2D and let them have their own personality. That's what I think. While there are many aspects of Champions that doubts my excitement a bit, I found the training room and what it offers to be quite successful. By spinning your VP, you're not only able to boost a Pokemon's individual stats and swap out moves, its special ability, even its nature. Thank you for calling out the good. All these alterations stay locked to Champions and won't carry over if you send them to another game, but this sort of fine-tuning does provide room for theory and strategy crafting that I appreciate. That said, requiring you to pay VP does blemish it somewhat. You just want everything. You just want people to be able to just switch their minds around and do all these things for free. At that point, why would people continue to play? You would just literally get on, do your role, get the mons you want, and you would just get off. Like, there's no incentive to like getting creative and crafty. Like, that's the point. That's what's gonna separate people, is the ability to be like, okay, here's this thing that you have to spend to tweak your mind, so you're gonna make sure it's right. I wonder if Nintendo ever decides to allow its players to purchase the resource directly, it will quickly spiral into a pay-to-win situation. But they didn't. They told you it's not going to be. So don't try to just like throw this narrative. I don't like this narrative that this game that they're trying to paint. They're painting this narrative as like, yes, Pokemon has done some interesting things with the money grabs and things of that nature, but this game is not one of those, right? I can jive with the sentiment of, oh hey, we gotta do 6v6, or there maybe should be more mons or more items in the game. I can get with those arguments, but except for the fact that, one, we just watched a format where we've seen the same old mons for 3 years. Okay, I think it's okay if we got a format where we had some different mons, where we got to see some weaker mons that probably won't be played in a year from now get some shine now while we can. Okay, I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section down below. That's all I got. Am I tripping? Am I bugging? Is IGN on this something? Are they not? I just think overall that after reading this article that like, sure, whatever. I don't think like, oh, it needs an evolution of its own if it wants to be the very best. The problem with that is that you're basically saying that like, hey, this game is garbage, and it's not. It's a good game. I'm so tired of people trying to like talk about, oh well, it's not this, it's not that. It's a battle simulator. That's all it is. It's a battle simulator, and where you can literally get your mons in a ranch for the free ski. And if you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. But oh, I can see Scott White. Casual Scott White. Anyway, Scott, if you see this is a terrible article. I ain't gonna lie. This is terrible. This is terrible. And it just shows that, you know, Pokemon ain't for you. And I had a video which I cooked up and crafted a little section just for people like you. So go ahead, go watch some of the videos, and that's for you. All right, I'm out. I can't take no more. By the time this get out, y'all probably see me live. I don't know, but make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Peace.